welcome back. Let's talk about stewardship, Rosa, because this is what you and your team do. You make sure that you're evaluating, I guess, the right investments for your clients. What's involved here? What is stewardship?
Yeah, so stewardship really means being responsible stewards of our clients' capital. And this goes beyond making the investment decisions. It is once you are invested in a stock or a bond, you are invested in the real world and you essentially have a seat at the table to encourage companies' behavior. So we can be a real driver of change on the ground to influence company practices and policies. And this work we do extends across all of BMO funds, not just our responsible investment funds. And beyond responsible wealth preservation and growth, we believe that all asset managers should be responsible stewards. There are a variety of tools that we have to our disposal to create this types of positive change, one of which people may have heard of, proxy voting, so using the right to vote at company shareholder meetings, also direct engagement with companies, collaborating with other investors, and then engaging with policymakers and standard setters.
Okay. So, Rosa, who actually picks the investments then? So that's not the role of what you do.
The portfolio managers responsible for the funds would pick the stocks. We do provide the portfolio managers with data and insights on ESG matters. But then once the stocks are in the fund, it's our responsibility to create that type of positive change where necessary.
Yeah. So can you give us examples of just some of the changes that your team has advocated for?
Yes, of course. So we're about to actually come out with our annual report, which will provide some more details. But one of the changes that we've made, so we've been engaging a lot of oil and gas companies actually on their road to net zero and eliminating emissions. And Suncor actually made a big announcement last year. They had set a target to be net zero by 2050. But we have been asking them to clearly tie that into executive compensation goals. So tying it to what the CEO gets paid. And that's what they did in 2022. So we're very proud of that's one example of the work that we've been doing. And we've been doing that across the industry. Also, at companies that, for example, are not in the oil and gas sector.
Okay. You mentioned annual report, and I want to bring up a QR code because for viewers who are watching, you can go to BMO's Responsible Investing page just by putting your phone up against that QR code, because this is where you can read about their annual report, investment policies, and also the latest trends, and of course, much more. Rosa, you touched on something where you're influencing companies. What's been the reception?
It's been really amazing how it's changed over the last few years. So when we first started out this type of work, companies were a bit confused. Why are investors caring about environmental and social issues? But now they are much more receptive. It's both a message that's coming loud and clear from the investment community and also from their consumers. So we think that companies are trying to do the best that they can. It's mostly a matter of resources and making sure that our investor concerns and priorities are clearly heard by the companies we invest in.
So what's been challenging then? Because you've kind of touched on that. And where do you think we are in terms of progress?
Yeah, there are, of course, still a lot of challenges that we're facing, especially as investors. We really rely on reporting that companies themselves put out to understand what their risks are and how they are managing those. And that reporting is not always consistent. And so that's what a lot of our engagement really is about. Can you disclose to us more information about your environmental approach, social approach? But this is also where our engagement with policymakers comes in really handy. So rather than talking to companies one by one, we can encourage regulators to mandate certain reporting that then is disclosed to investors.
Yeah. And have you found that the reporting has been transparent in the way that you'd like to see it, or you think there's still some progress to be made there?
There is still progress to be made. Yes, we are engaging the securities regulators, for example, on making climate reporting mandatory across Canada, as well as in the US, and making it just consistent, the type of information we receive.
Oh, that's great. That's great news for investors who are seeking that transparency. We're going to take another quick commercial break, and we'll be back in 2.